I knew exactly why he was coming round, but I guess I just humoured him. Now the fishing season has actually started, Dan would do anything to take half a day off to go fishing, so we both know what conversation was about to come, but I still let him go through it anyway. So what are you thinking then?
Well, I was thinking maybe I've got to do school run in a minute.
Yeah, but I got, invoicing and what not to do.
Yeah, we could do it later, couldn't you? I was thinking do the school run, chuck the kit on the van just in case, and have a little drive out, have a little scout around. There's a few swims I want to look at on the River Teme out Worcester way. I was thinking it'd be a nice time, get out there, sunny day. Not ideal for fishing, but ideal for having
a bit bright, isn't it?
What do you reckon?
Chuck the kettle on, let's have a look then.
It's all missing now. We start with Joe.
So why the River Teme then? Isn't that the place that is like quite hard going? And if you only want to go for a quick little session, shouldn't we pick an easy water?
Well, not sure if we're definitely going to fish. I think we probably will though. But I'm just thinking, it's a beautiful little river, part of River 7, and I'd want to put a bit of effort in there. It's going to be like a lot of sessions, maybe it's a bit high risk as in you're not always going to catch there, but it'd be high reward. So
I'll just take a bit of kit and we'll have a little look and don't be too serious about it.
You don't catch them Saturday and do this, so I'm thinking go and have a little look, see what looks inviting, just have a go at the end of the day. And it might be the first of many sessions there this season, so I think we should got to start somewhere, haven't you? So you park here, from memory, and I think there's a bit of a gate and alleyway, and you walk along here, and then the Birmingham Angler stretch starts about here and runs round to about here. So there's a bit of a bend there, and from memory there was a bit of a beachy area. It's quite long. I think that you, especially fishing on the float, which I wouldn't mind doing, we could get along there and I can have a nice trot along quite a nice long section of it, and that would be nice to have a look at.
All right, I'll get a bit of gear. Go and sort yourself out, and I'll meet you at yours.
Get the kit out, chuck it on the truck, and then we can head off from there.
Can only be a couple of hours, mind, all right?
Yeah, we'll make a little short one.
All right, let's go. Well, I've been fishing with Dan for long enough to know that he doesn't usually just turn up and have a look around. And as suspected, when I got there, he was loading his truck with a full arsenal of fishing equipment. With a potential half a day's fishing ahead of us, we weren't going to get very far without a bit of caffeine, so it was a quick pit stop there. We also needed a few essential fishing tackle items, maggots, floats, etc. So it was a quick pit stop in Worcester to a local tackle shop. All that was left to get was some bait for ourselves, because we couldn't tell whether we were going to be fishing for 2 hours or 6 hours. As planned, we found a parking spot in a little lay-by just off the main A road. The trail down to where we found a place to fish was very overgrown, so if you're going to fish around that area, I'd recommend boots, wellies and long trousers ideally, because there was a lot of stingy nettles and a lot of plants and bushes. We found a little beached area on the side of the river, which was good enough for, say, 4 potential fishermen, but it was ideal for us where we wanted to sort of creep alongside the bankside and get into several different swims just to suss the area out, as we've never fished there before. Before setting up his rig, he decided to get some maggots fired in to see if we could get a bit of activity in the water.
with this little shallow, aluminium shallow stick float. 6 number 4s on it, which is ideal because we're only fishing a couple of rods out. So that should be perfect for what we're doing today. I'm going to go with a size 18, tied direct to the main line. That should give me enough, a hook for 2 or 3 maggots. I'm looking forward to doing this. I'm really looking forward to this. I think I'm going to start here, just work my way down this swim. Hard rock here, so missed another one. So I'm on the waggler rod, fishing with close face reel, Drennan 5-pound float line, stick float, 6 number 4s. It just allows you to keep nice control of the line. Not as much control as a centre pin reel, but good fun. So it appears that we've probably got a shoal of fish just further down that run. Seem to have a knot every cast down there. Probably another. Yeah, it's another little dace. Oh. It might be a bit shallower there, hence why it's bobbing under. Bit of hemp as well as the maggots. You walk along this stretch, you quite commonly see some nice young chub. I haven't seen any barbel on this stretch the last few times I've walked it, but I know they come out here. So you've always got to be mindful that you might hit a barbel. Some lovely pace water just along this far bank here. It's a little bit deeper. I'd like to wade in, but I think I'd be a bit close and probably spook them. But I'm pretty sure underneath those trees along that deep side that there are plenty of fish. It's a nice pace, perfect for what we're doing. Ooh, lost control of my line a bit there and let a bit of a loop form. I'm going to keep that line behind the float to keep a bit of control. Easy. Ooh, give me a snag. So we're here today for a couple of reasons. I fished a few late nights this week. The season is, well, it's a week old. tonight, but after a glorious opening night of the season, I fished a few late nights. I'm a bit tired already, week one, so decided to skip last night and said we'd have a little wander today, and have a little wander in Worcestershire on the beautiful River Teme. Some lovely stretches along here, notorious for the summer barbel, where the barbel creep up from the River Severn for the spawning season. It's really varied conditions down here, lots of steep banks, lots of little streamy bits of the river like this. Missed it. You've got some faster shallow glides, there's some deeper stretches. There's a lot of variety here, although the swims are a bit hard to get to at the moment with all the overgrown stingers and plants. So we've got a lovely spot here along a beach which gives me access to probably 50 yards of river. I can work my way from one end to the other, having a bit of fun on the stick float. Aim to pick ourselves up some chub really. So far just a few small days. Oh, missed that then. So I'm standing out in the river and I got my waders on because it's nice and shallow, but it just allows me to get that extra metre or two in, so I can just feed the spot by hand opposed to having to keep getting me slingshot out. The good thing about fishing a stick float like this, you really do get to figure out the lay of the land underneath the surface. You figure out where the deep sections are and where it shallows up by just watching the float. In some areas it will speed along nicely, then you'll notice where it catches the bottom dips here and there. So I've already established that it's shallow in a couple of different spots along that run there. Oop. So initially you think you're getting lucky and having a bite, but realistically when it's happened a couple of times you're starting to figure out what the bottom actually looks like. And really just along the deep glide along the back, it's a nice run, got clear sight of the float for a good 50 yards. There's a nice section there where the river, he's back up, but there's a bit of an island in the river, so you're getting two sections meet. It's a nice run. Go on. No, snag.
As the day continued on, it was looking less likely that Dan was going to pull out any sort of specimen that he was ideally searching for, chub or barbel. But it was hot, it was muggy, and it was really bright, so the conditions weren't exactly ideal. But Dan's very determined, very patient, and he just kept casting in, kept rethinking baits and tactics, trying a few of the different swims around. But it was tough conditions, and it was important to remember why we were there. It was just to walk the bankside, find a suitable peg where we might be able to dedicate a long day to, like an early morning start. But I knew that Dan wasn't going to quit until he got his hooks into something, so it was time to have a cup of tea, because I could tell this session wasn't over yet. Dan had recently bought a centre pin reel which he'd never used before, so it was time to get that out and give that a try. When you've fished a certain way your whole life and then to change that by using a different piece of equipment, it's quite refreshing, but it also means that your habits that you've built up in the past need completely rethinking.
So we had a quick change of tactics and setup, going on to barbel rod, centre pin reel, 12-pound line.
There's just something about a centre pin reel, the way it looks, the way it moves. I could see why he was excited to use it.
So I'm going to start off by just free lining a lump of meat and just try and gauge what pace that's moving along the bottom to see if it's moving a bit too quick, and if it is I'll introduce some weight to slow it down. So we're going to give it a go in some of these deeper slacks just on the far bank, where you can see a bit of swirling, and probably just the other side of these snags here. They look very chubby. You never know, there's a chance of a barbel around here. Right, so I'm just walking out into the river a bit. Obviously with a centre pin, it's a little harder to cast a distance. Not that this is far, but this just makes it very easy. So as you can see, the centre pin is just releasing line just at a nice pace. I can just control it with my thumb. Slow it down when I want to. Oh.
I've not personally fished myself for a long time, but I couldn't help but watch Dan with a centre pin reel and be intrigued on what it's like to fish with one. Not only does it look amazing, it just gives you so much control and just appears to need a totally different skill factor to typical fishing with bail arms. I'm sure I'll have a go in the near future to see what it's like for myself.
The beauty of the centre pin is you can really just control the pace. So we're on good old trusty spam at the moment. Chub and barbel find it hard to resist spam. Admittedly, this is not ideal conditions. It's been very warm, but it just looks too good to ignore. Being out in the water and my waders on is cooling me down nicely. What a day to spend, well, what a way to spend a Thursday afternoon.
As you can see here, Dan is using a special casting technique that's only suitable with a centre pin reel. I've never seen this technique used before when casting, but obviously I've never fished this closely with someone using a centre pin reel either. So I thought it would be important to capture this moment in slow motion so you can see Dan doing it in detail. The technique he's actually using is called the Nottingham cast, or some people call it the two hoop method. When starting to fish with a centre pin reel, this casting method is apparently the less challenging one to adapt to. Obviously there's more hand-eye coordination needed when casting with a centre pin reel and using both hands to control the line release itself, but Dan seems to have mastered this quite quickly and is getting on really well using this method. So if you planned on picking up a centre pin reel for yourself, a good recommendation just from viewing Dan would be to try this Nottingham cast before you move on to something more challenging like the Wallace cast.
Well, today's actually the first time I've fished with a centre pin reel. It's been on my list of things to do for the last couple of years, but during the close season, where I've been bored, scrolling online, I thought now is the time to get involved and buy one. And I bought this Arnold Kingpin from eBay. And it's in new condition, but I've got to say it's absolutely gorgeous to use. It feels as if it was spin forever. The lovely details just make it so nice to control with your thumb. And yeah, at this stage, all I can say is it's lovely to use, and I cannot wait to connect with a barbel or a big chub with it, but because I can already tell that it's going to be a lot of fun. Today might not be ideal, but it's given me a good chance to test it out, get used to using it, try a few things. So sometimes you need to get out on days like this where it might not be the most productive, but you're always learning something. I'm learning about this particular stretch of river so that when I return I know a bit more about it. And as they say, there's never a bad day's fishing, is there? from reading into it and listening to people, people believe that the barb will swim up from the lower Severn up to Worcestershire to spawn in this nice, calm little river, the Teme. And if we're lucky enough that they hang around here. So I've heard the stories from the, like I say, from the 90s, early 2000s, where people would commonly come here and catch 10, 20, even 30 barbel, one particular angler that I know. But over the last few years with otters and water conditions, they've slowed right down. But speaking to people over the last couple of years, I've heard that they've made a bit of a comeback, and you're hearing stories that more and more barbel are coming out. And I myself have walked a few stretches. At a time I looked at one stretch and thought, not a lot happening here, I've only seen a few chublets. And just on my way back to my van, I spotted a beautiful double figure barbel just coasting along an inside line. And it just excited me that they're still around. So it's always been an ambition of mine to catch River Teme barbel, and particularly after seeing that one take a gentle glide past me as I was walking one day. It ignited a little fire in me that said, I'll be back and I will catch me a River Teme tiger, as they call them. And particularly swims like this, where you get nice little sections of the river that are like streams almost. You can imagine what fighting a big barbel would be like in these conditions. It'd be a right scrap. So I may have to put some time into these swims, because they're not going to be prolific, but the rewards will be really high for it. Perfect.
It had been 4 hours with nothing really desirable. This was Dan's final cast, as he whispered before he swung it into the water. And it was coincidental that this was also the cast that made the trip worthwhile.
Oh, wait. I've got a bite. I'm in.
Fishing isn't always just about getting the catch, but if you don't catch something you've been looking for, you are left a little bit unsatisfied. Not for Dan in this case. His patience is paid off.
And there we go. Last chuck. Touch ledgering. Just down to the far end of the swim. And a beautiful chub. Look at that. What a beauty. Oh, the hook's just come out the side there. There he is. Look at that. Makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? Buzzing about that. I was literally about to put my rod down and I said, one last chuck. Chuck to the bottom of the swim. Bit of touch ledgering. Great bit of fun that was on the centre pin. Last chuck, touch ledgering. A lovely chub. And I think now it'd be rude not to chuck another piece of meat down into that section, wouldn't it? So let's get him back and have another go. And there it goes, beautiful. Well, I can't believe that. You took the mickey out of me, saying one more cast. I said, I just looked down to the swim, thought, just looked inviting. I needed to chuck it in there, just to give it a go. And within 30 seconds of being in there, tug, end of the rod whip round, and it was a nice chub. Fighting against the stream, it gave me quite a good fight. And it's just completely flipped the session on its head, really. You all know what it's like when you're fishing those occasions where it's not ideal conditions, but you just want to be out. I know we've had a few tiddlers on the stick float, but you always want a chub or a barbel when you're fishing places like this. And touch ledgering as well. You feel from that first moment when they connect with the bait and when that hook goes in, and you just know, fish on. And even more fun on the centre pin. So we've got a lead running freely. a little buffer bead hook link, which was £12 monofilament, a size 7 hook to a Cuban meat, straight on, size 7 hook, straight through, so we don't get caught with any snags, which I find happens more when you've got things on an air rig, when you've got moving around like this. So let's have another go. Well, being out of bits of meat that are big enough, I'm being a bit lazy, and rather than go, I'm gonna have one more chuck with a load of maggots on that hook, a Medusa almost. We're gonna give that a chuck in there now. And just when it was going so well, learning on the centre pin, I think I've just really learned a lesson about the centre pin. And that's what we call a bird's nest, and probably time to go home. Well, that's the end of the session for today. Good bit of fun in the end. Didn't hold a lot of hope for the session because of the weather conditions. It's absolutely scorching hot out there. It's 27 degrees, really warm. You can see I'm all clammy. But it was still some fun. Trotted a float for a couple of hours, had a bit of fun, kind of catching some small bits and pieces. Decided to roll some meat on the centre pin. First time using one, really enjoyed that, even though I didn't catch any fish. And then went for a more static bait, fish putting a lead on. No joy to start with, but one more cast, as they say, one more cast, chucked it into the far end of the swim, touch ledger in it, and wallop. Had a lovely chub, only about £3, but give me a good fight on the centre pin reel, and it just made the session work just that little bit special. It was never a wasted session. You're always learning, always out enjoying it, but it just was the cherry on the cake, if you know what I mean. Made it extra worthwhile. So I'll go home happy with that, and looking forward to going out again already, fishing the centre pin, trotting the float, I think. So until next time, make sure you get yourself out and about, over and out.
Both Dan and I would just like to say a massive thanks to anyone who watched the entire episode. If you could hit the like and subscribe button, it would really help the channel a lot. So we will be releasing a new episode every couple of weeks. You can also find us on TikTok and Instagram, links will be added below. So feel free to chat with us on there and get connected, and we'll see you on the next one.
Oh. Look at that again.